So here's what I was thinking for the intro. We'll have like news anchors that are like the Airbnb bust, the Airbnb bust, the Airbnb bust is here. And then we cut to some TikTok people that are like, oh, Airbnb used to be this. And then some guy that's like, oh, the cleaning fees are outrageous. And then I walk in and I'm like, the crash, it's here. It's here, Rob is selling his portfolio. And then we actually start the video.
Airbnb is collapsing.
Boom or bust. Ban on short-term rentals.
Airbnb's shares dropped significantly.
People are calling for an Airbnb bust.
Airbnb bust.
Airbnb is going away.
Because guess what? Hotels are coming back.
The crashing, it's happening. Rob is selling his portfolio. It must all be over. Hello and welcome to another episode of Robuilt. Yes, you have read all of the headlines, all of the news headlines. Robuilt is selling the majority of his Airbnb portfolio, and we're here to talk about it today. A few weeks ago, I released a video called I'm Selling My Airbnbs, and really mixed responses. Overall, very positive, but you know, there was some negativity and some accusations and assertions about me and my character that I wanted to respond to in today's video and provide a little bit of clarity and a little bit of context as to why I'm selling stuff. Because, I mean, why not? What's the worst that could happen on the internet, right? And you guys have already said mean things. Well, you're gonna say meaner things? It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I want to clarify something before I go into all of these comments. I don't really regret anything that I've done to get here. If you're new to this and you don't really understand, I'm selling a fat majority of my Airbnb portfolio, and I'm taking my equity and I'm moving it into a much bigger property that is actually 13 Airbnbs and hopefully in a year from now, 23. Now, most people didn't get to that part of the video because that's at the very end. That's cool. I don't expect everyone to watch the entire video, but you know, it is rather important context, just future reference to finish the video before you attack me online, but that's okay. All I'm really doing at this point is rebalancing my portfolio a little bit to take the equity of all of my properties, as many as I can, and move it into one property where I can both put all my focus into, but also maximize cash flow. You know, and as I explain it, I still kind of get giddy at this idea because I think that this is the journey of the scaling investor, is to grow the portfolio, prune it, and make it as effective as possible. That's all I'm looking to do here in 2025. So first comment here, it's actually the pinned one on this video, because honestly, it kind of encapsulates exactly what I'm trying to do. So basically, he's divesting a single family style product, homes and condos, for a full-on development that is a commercial property and basically a unique hotel that is not a hotel. Good move, to be honest. Commercial real estate is, I'm too old to read this. Okay, sorry, I gotta make it bigger on screen. Okay, good move, Tibba, huh? Commercial real estate is better positioned to weather the interest rate shocks as the single family residence space sees asset value decreases slowly as the interest rates bite the consumer's ability to afford. Taking his equity gains and rolling it into a new project like this makes good economic sense, assuming we don't have a major recession in the initial period of ownership that is sustained enough to hurt medium-term outlook. Shorter-term shocks can be weathered, but medium and long-term ones not so much, unless you have deep pockets or have low leverage/debt. Good luck on the new project. Okay, honestly, I could probably just end the video here and be like, yeah, just go read that comment. But here's kind of how commercial real estate works in a nutshell. Some of what this person is saying is correct, but there's a little bit more nuance to, I think, what a scaling investor like me is looking to do, which is getting out of single family residences to get into commercial real estate. It's not because I dislike single family residences or Airbnbs. I love them, this is where I got started. But here's the truth. I've been talking about maximizing income and revenue for Airbnbs now for a solid 2 years. I've really kind of gone on a tirade of saying, stop buying more Airbnbs and make your current Airbnbs more effective. And I've actually done this with a lot of my different properties where I've actually gone and supercharged my properties with different amenities that have supercharged the revenue of my properties. And that has worked extremely well. Like this property where I added a game day theme to the backyard. Just in the 4 or 5 months that we were live with that property, we added $15,000 of profit. This year, we're looking to take that property's revenue from $45,000 to $80,000 or so, which will be about a $35,000 to $40,000 increase in net profit. Awesome, amazing. Everything I just said here is proper strategy for the Airbnb host that has a single family residence. But there is one flaw with all of this, okay? It doesn't mean that you shouldn't invest in short-term rentals, but here's the big gotcha. Residential real estate is valued based on the other residential real estate in that neighborhood or in that zip code, or however your appraiser appraises it, okay? If you build a 2,000 square foot house and you sell it, it is going to sell based on what other 2,000 square foot homes sell for, roughly, okay? I'm generalizing here. And no matter how much money that property makes, like let's say it's an incredibly successful Airbnb, that house is gonna be worth what the other comps in that neighborhood are worth. It's not gonna be worth any more because it makes $100,000 or $200,000 on Airbnb. And a lot of Airbnb hosts get this completely mixed up. They say, oh, I'm gonna buy this house for $400,000. Ooh, it's making $100,000, so I'm gonna sell it as a business for $700,000. Yeah, that's not how that works. And so I've gone and I've supercharged a lot of my properties, but guess what? That doesn't change the valuation of those properties other than some of the actual physical improvements that I made to those properties, but the revenue does not factor into their worth, if you will. Now, when you get into commercial real estate, that is completely different. You are now valued on a cap rate, and you are valued based off of the NOI, the net operating income. So if I go and I take these strategies that I've been taking on single family residences and I apply them to a commercial development like the one that I'm trying to buy right now, and I actually supercharge that revenue and I can double or triple the NOI, well, I have then double or tripled the valuation of that property. And so for me, I'm like, if I'm gonna do the work of trying to make more money, I want the equity to also grow as well. And so that's kind of why I'm moving into commercial real estate. Now, that commercial real estate does not mean that I'm leaving the Airbnb game. As I've mentioned, that development is currently working as 13 Airbnb properties. However, because they're all on the same piece of land and they're one development, now it turns into commercial real estate. That was a lot, but hopefully you learned something. And you know, I'm gonna look up one more little thing for you here. I'm just gonna get this, much does. Okay, so I wanted to do this math before I said it. If I were to take this property, all right, this commercial property, and let's say that it was making $100,000 NOI, and let's say that I could come in and increase the NOI by an additional $100,000, well, I will have then increase the valuation of that property on an 8 cap, which is what this property is currently trading for. I will have increased the valuation of this property by $1.25 million. And at a 7 cap, which is a better multiple, that same $100,000 NOI increase would actually make the value of that property go up $1.43 million. We're gonna fall somewhere between the 7 and the 8 mark, I think. Let's just go with the 8 cap number right now. Right now, we're thinking that we can increase NOI when we're kind of fully expanded by $300,000, which would increase the value of that property by $3.25 million. It's kind of crazy. Every single dollar that you can add in profitability just skyrockets the valuation. And that's just something that you can't do with a single family residence home. It's not a bad thing. It's just, you know, as you scale, you want to use your time as efficiently and effectively as possible. And so for me, that's the play. All right, relevant comment here. He's running the Monopoly Playbook. Trade in your 5 greenhouses for 1 red hotel. Classic and appropriate. I hate to have the hotel moniker because, you know, as an Airbnb host, we're always like, wow, hotels. But there's a reason that hoteliers are billionaires and STR hosts are millionaires, right? That is basically what I'm doing. That is the general concept. Now, with that said, and I think this is important just so you can get a snapshot of my mind and what my intentions are and who I want to be and who I don't want to be. I have no intention of being a billionaire. I don't want to be a billionaire, if I'm being honest.
I don't believe you.
I have no intention of doing that. I don't even want to be a 100 millionaire. I don't want to be anywhere near that. I think the life that it would take to get there and the sacrifices I'd have to make aren't worth it. Why would I want to, I mean, you can't even spend $100 million, you know? I guess you could, but could you?
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah, not really. I think for me, I'm trying to get to a point, I don't really have a number, okay? But if I did, I guess I would say that probably when my real estate portfolio gets to the 20 to 30 million mark, which is gonna take a whole lifetime for me to do that, by the way, I'd be okay with that. But I'd honestly probably be cool with like 15 to 20 million bucks. Honestly, probably less. I don't really know. I think at this point for me, I'm like, I see my kids growing up and I get sad, you know? Seeing how fast they grow up, and I'm just like, do I really want to like work a lot so that I'm like, hey, look, kids, we're rich. They're gonna be like, oh, okay, well, we missed you when we were growing up. Like, I don't want that. I don't know what my number is, but I can tell you that the whole corporate greed and like trying to be the billionaire, like, yeah, that's not me, and it's not for me. And you know what? If that's what you want, that's cool. I don't care. I don't judge anyone that wants that life. But for me, the longer I live the life that I'm living in terms of like always hustling and always grinding, the more emotional scarring I have from how much I just miss seeing my kids grow up. So I am trying to simplify in a way that I can grow and scale sustainably while also making money. But that's just me. And I mean, I know I'm like trying to sound relatable and everyone's like, yeah, okay, cool, $50 million, so relatable, Rob. But I can tell you I feel like that's a pretty moderate or modest goal for people in real estate. If you've ever gone to a real estate convention or a conference, I can tell you most people have their sights on a lot more than that. I'm trying to keep it small and powerful. Small and mighty, you might even say, Chad. Next, bro realized that to be a landlord, you need to be living where the land is. I don't actually agree with this. I think you can manage remotely. I do. I've got 45 doors, and my video wasn't about the fact that I can't manage remotely. It was about the fact that I didn't want to manage remotely, but it was also about the fact that I could continue to manage remotely if I wanted to, but I would have to accept that the quality control would shoot down over time. And so for me, as someone that enjoys hosting genuinely, and someone that has been self-managing my properties that are in my own neighborhood, I just get a lot more joy out of going out of my property and checking on things and tightening doorknobs and stuff. And yeah, again, I'm going for a simpler life. I think if I didn't have kids, if I didn't have multiple companies, if I was just doing the Airbnb thing, I would totally be thriving with the portfolio that I have, but I'm just taking some chips off the table and moving them over to another investment, which is, a few hours from my house. So it's not quite in my backyard, but pretty close. Airbnb started as a cheaper alternative to a hotel. Then people just got greedy. And the bad part is that clients keep paying. No thanks. Hotel for me. Okay, I guess Airbnb started back in what, 2008? Airbnb started in what year? 2007, I was close. Okay, but newsflash, and I think the evidence is out there. 2007 was 18 years ago. So the company has changed, and the intention of the product has changed in the last almost 2 decades. And so for people to continually say that Airbnbs are supposed to be cheaper than hotels are just intentionally being ignorant about what Airbnb is supposed to be. I don't know a single host, I don't know anybody who's like, yeah, I'm starting an Airbnb because we're gonna be cheaper than a hotel. No one does that. There is no actual reason in 2025 to believe that an Airbnb should be cheaper than a hotel, because at max, 4 people can cram into 2 double beds in a hotel, which would cost you $200. But if you wanted to book an Airbnb with 2 bedrooms, that would also probably cost you anywhere from $200 to $400. You get a kitchen, you get multiple bathrooms, you get a patio, sometimes you get a pool, sometimes you get a pickleball court, and the more amenities that you add, the more expensive it's gonna be. So if an Airbnb is $1,000 a night, but it sleeps 16 people, well, to sleep those same 16 people in hotel rooms would cost so much more than $1,000 per night at a hotel. So I don't get it. And I feel like if anyone watching this still believes that, shut up. Like, it's not meant to be cheaper. It's just not a thing. Why would you get a pickleball court for $100 a night? It doesn't make sense. So you are choosing to be mad for some ideal or some reason that you have about what a company is supposed to be based on what it launched with 18 years ago. My goodness, take a chill pill, lady. It's not cheaper, but it's cooler. And you can hang out with all your family, and you can have a big living room and watch TV together and do things that you could never possibly do in a hotel together. I think that's kind of cool. If that's too expensive for you, if that's not your vibe, no problem. Go for it. Go book a hotel. Go book a smoky smelling Motel 6. I don't know what to tell you. Next, can you tell I'm mad about this? It is just crazy talk to me. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's crazy. You know? Next, because I'm annoyed now. Okay, let's see. I've never seen the appeal of owning hundreds of doors, single family and small multifamily. Just seems like a logistical nightmare. Okay, cool. Not really the comment that I'm addressing here. It's the next one that says, not to mention being a prime contributor to the housing market problems. Okay, so they're not really saying this, but this is a comment that I get pretty often, so I'm just gonna use them as my example. Short-term rentals, for sure, have an impact on the housing market, just like long-term rentals do. I would say it's rather minimal because the amount of short-term rentals in the United States, last I checked, was 2.45 million short-term rentals in the United States. The amount of houses in the United States are 145 million. So generally speaking, short-term rentals make about 1.5, 1.6% of the housing in the United States. So of course, the more short-term rentals that are taken off the market, that will have an effect. However, for whatever weird reason, short-term rentals get the most hate on TikTok for being like the reason that the housing market is crashing, or like, like there's not enough affordable housing and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, when it comes to long-term rentals, there are 45 million long-term rentals in the United States, okay? That is about 30%, I think, 31%. That is 31% of the housing stock. Yet, I never really hear people jumping down the throats of like a long-term rental investor. It's always Airbnb for some reason. Airbnbs are specifically the ones causing the housing crisis at 1.6% of the housing stock. Whereas long-term investors, man, good on y'all. Y'all never get the hate. But it's fine, who cares about numbers anyways, right? Like proof and evidence aren't even a thing we do these days, I guess. Next. Honestly, you got me into Airbnb. I bought 6 in 2020 to 2022. Boy, do I regret it. I effectively gave myself a second job. Also, no one wants to talk about the capital expenses of the roof going out, water pump, water boiler, redoing the driveway, pool water heater, etc. The list goes on and on. Not only did it wipe out my cash flow, it became negative if I was really honest with myself. So thanks, Rob, but glad you're finally realizing that Airbnb is not for everyone. People should talk more about the negative aspect and the more realistic situations that happen with Airbnb ownership. I responded to this comment, but I'll respond here publicly again. I feel like out of all of the Airbnb content creators or influencers or whatever you want to call us, I feel like I talk about the negative aspect of hosting significantly. I mean, I would say significantly more than literally anyone else. Here's a compilation of some of my videos here. See? Yep. These are all the crappy parts of being an Airbnb host. And guess what? I talk about that because I do want to be honest with you and say, hey, Airbnb is hard. It's really, really hard. It's amazing. You make a lot of money doing it, but it is hard. Because typically, what is sold is the dream of Airbnb and quitting your job and becoming a millionaire and all that stuff that I talk about for sure, but it's never the, hey, there's bed bugs here. Or hey, you're gonna miss birthday dinners, or you're gonna have to leave the movies early because someone called you because the remote batteries die. I do genuinely feel like I cover the good and the bad. So I feel the person who wrote this, because I live this myself every single day, I would just say for anyone watching, if you wanna get into Airbnb, it's incredibly gratifying, but equal parts difficult. You gotta choose your own adventure. If you want the easy, passive, boring life, buy a long-term rental, make $100 or $200 a month cash flow, and that can be passive. But if you ever want a shot at making $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 a month from a single property, it's gonna cost you some time and some of your hair. I've got lots of gray hairs happening these days because of my Airbnbs. So basically the Airbnb bubble popped. Cool, man. Okay, what does that mean? This is kind of the same thing. This is like what? This is the one genius? He figured it out? Oh yeah, he got the Airbnb bubble popped. Got him. Guarantee you the person that commented that has been saying that it's gonna pop or that Airbnb is gonna crash for the last 10 years. I guarantee it. Like, what does that even mean? What is the housing crash? Like this, I'm gonna wrap this in the same comment type as everyone that's like, oh, Rob's getting out because the housing market is crashing. What does that mean? I mean, eventually you're gonna be right. Clocks are right 2 times a day. If you've been saying that the housing market is gonna crash for the last 10 years, well, on year 11, you might be right, but that's not gonna make you a genius. It's just your viewpoint finally just aligned with reality of how economical cycles work. But no, the Airbnb bubble hasn't popped. And actually, as a matter of fact, if I were gonna say that there is an asset class in real estate that actually makes money, it's Airbnbs. If you actually want to make $1,000 to $3,000 a month on a single property, I would say that there are very few ways to do that. You could possibly do that with a pad split, but really for the most part, you're talking Airbnbs. More than likely, it is not gonna happen from a single family residence long-term rental. It's probably not. Now, with that said, there were a lot of people that were, kind of complaining or crying over the last couple of years that Airbnb has fallen off a cliff or their bookings are down or this and that. That's probably true. And I've reviewed a lot of those listings, and typically those listings look like this. This, by the way, is my first Airbnb listing that I ever had as an Airbnb host with the beautiful 4.77 rating. I don't even know why. Look, my photos were on point, my furniture was on point. When I launched this property, okay, this was 2017. There was so much money to be made in the Airbnb game. And the thing is, people took that money and they pocketed the money and they never looked back. And then 2020, 2021, 2022 came around and people started really learning the game and optimizing and investing in actual nice properties, in actual good furniture and interior design. And then all of the people that never did that, the people with these types of listings basically kind of went under or started making less money because they started having their asses handed to them by the sophisticated investor. I can tell you, I know so many people, okay? I've got Host Camp, my mentorship program with 3,000 students. I see how much money is being made in this game, and I genuinely believe there's some great money to be made in the Airbnb game, but it is not a dabbler's game. It was a dabbler's game from 2007 to 2020, but from 2021 to now, it's a serious game. And so if you're gonna get into it, this isn't like a, buy a home and invest $10,000 in furniture type of situation. This is a invest in a home and really, spend some serious money on having an experience that stands out from the rest. I will fall on a sword for good design. These 3 properties that you see right here, these are all Funkit properties, my interior design company that specializes in interior design, okay? Pink Pickle goes for $1,299 a night from Thursday to Sunday, peak season. And we are booked usually every single weekend. You can check out the next 3 months. And as you can see, for the next 3 months, I'm pretty booked solid here, okay? This property is a junky little, cottage bungalow here in my neighborhood. And it is on track to do $72,000 when the nearest competitor to me, okay, was gonna make anywhere from $30,000 to $35,000, okay? And then this property, since I launched it in December, has been booked at nearly 100%, okay? December, I think it was 85, 90%. And then literally from January through June 1st, I am 100% booked in this property at $11,500 to $12,500 a month because I've got midterm rental guests that are willing to pay that. My mortgage on that property is $6,000. Okay, I put about another $1,000 in hard expenses, so $7,000. So on average, I will make anywhere from $3,500 to $5,000 on that property every single month. This middle property, my mortgage is like $1,900, $1,000 for cleaning, a bunch of other stuff. Usually I'm making about $2,000 to $3,000 a month on this property. These are all exceptionally designed properties by Funkit. I know I talk about them a lot because they're my company. Obviously I'm biased, but I'm biased about things that work. And I can tell you, I see the books and I see the calendars of a lot of our clients, and they also do very, very well. So I will wrap this up by saying that I do not think the Airbnb bubble has popped, which I guess I could have just said that, but I really think you have to take this game seriously, okay? By the way, if you want your property designed by Funkit, obviously this would be a good time for me to say that you can book a call with their team. Free call, we can take you through data, we can show you some numbers, some of our past projects, and if it's a fit, we'll make you the belle of the ball. Next, okay, be honest, did you realize that your debt load was increasing while revenue was not keeping up? Nope, that's not what it was. I actually just showed you my last 3 properties that I launched. I'm doing okay, but that's not really the comment that I wanna address. This lady said, guarantee it, his place in JT is empty all the time, I drive by it. What? No, it's not, okay? This is my last month, all right? This is March, which actually would have been decent, but I had to block off a good chunk of the month because I did a bunch of renovations to my property to get it ready to get listed and sold. And then here's the month before that. This is February. Okay, is my property empty? Really, lady? My property is empty? You drive by it all the time? Yeah, because that's crazy. Because if you were there all the time, you would have seen like any of these 10 guests there. But no, yeah, I guess you're seeing something that I'm not, right? Next. Yeah, I know I sound salty, but I'm just like, all right, well, you know what? If a hater's gonna question me and then people are gonna like it and be like, oh yeah, I believe you, he's a grifter. Okay, I'm just gonna show you the numbers. Like, it's not that big of a deal. All right, next. Okay, let's see, what else we got? Any other fun ones in here? Okay, oh, this is good. Okay, yeah. It's very time consuming because no management company will take care of your properties like you can. It's still trading time for passive income, not bashing because I am able to take time off of work and live off my cash flow for a few months, but I have to keep my spending very low. Yeah, so Airbnb, as I mentioned, is not passive income, but passive income is not really like a thing. It's not as, I guess, of a beautiful little like, I get my little passive income here and there, as it may seem, because in order to achieve passive income, whether it's Airbnb or investments or stocks or literally anything, you must put in a very, very active effort to create passive income. And I think a lot of people don't realize this. I think a lot of people think passive income is like instant and passive, but that's not really how it works. You go through your investment life figuring out what are the different things that are gonna make you the most money, and you spend a lot of time putting in effort in building teams and strategizing how you can make that thing passive. And because you're gonna be hiring people and putting teams in place and systems, you will make less money. If something is passive, you will always make less money as a result than if you were actively managing something. This is probably not new news to most people, but a lot of people don't realize that like to really have like a pretty sweet passive income thing, you will have had to put a significant amount of active time into it. And you will always have to put some active time into it to keep it growing if you want it to grow the way that you want it to grow. I guess you could just put it into like the same, stocks and funds and stuff, and that would theoretically be passive. But if you have like a asset manager, financial manager, property manager, whoever manager, you always have to manage your managers, and that's where things become less passive than is sold on the internet. Okay, my guess is he has enough equity in them to take the profits and invest them in the market and live off the returns. True passive income. Honestly, I should do that. That would be nice. I could just take my equity and my appreciation that I've earned and my net worth and just stick it in the S&P and then make like a decent little return. That sounds like a nice life. I still feel like I can grow a larger net worth through real estate, so it's gonna be a while before I do that. And just also, one thing is I can't just sell my properties, because then I'd have to pay capital gains and I'd have to pay recapture tax on cost eggs and all that stuff. So it's never really gonna be in my strategy to sell all of my properties and then just take those profits and like coast on them. I will always sell those properties and move it into other properties, and occasionally I might take some profits and like replenish my bank account personally. I haven't done that yet. I'm sure I will. Conceptually that makes sense to me, but for the most part I'm always basically just transferring profits from one property to another. That's just real estate, baby. That's the game. Why did I do that? Next, what about your Joshua Tree house you're doing with Shelby Church? Still on. Wow, this one has taken a long time. There are a lot of things that just really held us up in the permitting process, which is kind of crazy. Usually I can get a permit in like 3 months and it's like not a big deal, but we've been going through the ringer now for a couple of years. But I think we're in the last like 10%. We're close to breaking ground, and I'm really excited. Here's some cool B-roll of the backyard that we're looking to build at this property, because I'm a big believer that these are the types of experiences that people are paying for out there. I'm actually, bullish on Joshua Tree. I will be making a large effort to be out there and build more things out there. So those of you that are like, oh, he's selling his Joshua Tree tiny house because he's like trying to get out because he doesn't believe. No, it's nothing like that. I actually love Joshua Tree, and I'm excited to do more stuff out there. So hopefully I'll get to meet my neighbor that always sees my empty house, and we can become buds. I'll take you out to coffee, lady, whoever you are. Okay? Platonically, like as friends. I mean, I feel like that's obvious, but I just have to say it because we're online and get me out of here, Caleb, get me out of here. And that has been my RTA, my respond to anything. How was that? Was that good? I feel like that was good therapy. There was some tension there. There was some like, hey, we fought through some things and I thought through some things. I feel good. I think I should respond to mean comments more, because now I don't know. I feel like I'm like, that was nice. Anyways, thanks to everybody that supported me. I mean, everything that I read today, mostly negative comments, and genuinely speaking, if you actually go down that video, I'm gonna try to say this without tearing up. It's the flu, I swear. The majority of the comments were actually very nice, like very, very, very nice. A lot of people that were cheering me on, that were saying like, wow, I've watched you for so many years and it's so cool to see you living your dream and all that stuff. And it's like, it means the world to me. I do read those comments. I try to respond to as many as I could in that video, but they did kind of get away from me because that video took off a little bit. So I just want to say thank you. And the last caveat that I'll give to anyone watching this is that that property may not close. I still may not lock up that property. I'm pretty far in the process, but deals go bad all the time. There's already a few things that are happening that's like, uh-oh, we're gonna close this deal. But the cool thing is that in real estate, the most valuable skill you can have is the ability to pivot. And I've already got other backup plans brewing, and I'm excited for what those will be if they need to come to fruition, okay? So if you haven't watched my first video where I talk about selling all my properties and you stuck around to the end, then definitely go watch that next right here. That's a good video. I kind of tell everything. It's pretty raw and vulnerable. And it's probably my best one that I've ever done. I don't know, I think. I feel that way. It was good. Okay, bye. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, bye.